Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. We are here to do the Friday Night SmackDown, which took place on August 1st, 2025, at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, the same city of the MetLife Stadium, which is to host SummerSlam this weekend. This is the go home show for SummerSlam, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into all the happenings that took place on Friday Night SmackDown, leading things off with John Cena, who comes to the ring to a chorus of boos and John Cena sucks, and before he can get out a single word, he is then joined by Cody Rhodes. John Cena thanks Cody for bringing out the real him by forcing him to fight in a street fight at SummerSlam. And in a very unexpected way, John Cena has apparently turned face now and says no matter who walks away with the title, the winner will be us, the WWE Universe. This, of course, was a great moment that I think it could be argued that deserved a better spotlight. And I'm not meaning just on a different show or a PLE. I'm just talking about a different spotlight on SmackDown itself. We can get into that a little more later, but comparatively speaking to what did in the show, I think you could very easily argue that this probably deserved that spot. But, nonetheless, this was a great moment, and I think, a bit unexpected for me. Cody's involvement was quite minimal here, but you could argue, A, he wasn't really needed, and B, he's kind of been carrying the feud. John Cena's schedule, obviously not full-time, or at least to that of Cody Rhodes. But this was great. I think the crowd ate it up, and I could argue again that it feels like it should be somewhere else, somewhere bigger, somewhere better than just kicking off a SmackDown. But regardless, time is ticking, and we don't have that much time with John Cena. So I'm all for it. This certainly, it drops some hints as to what could happen at SummerSlam. But regardless, I think a lot of our attention was, geared towards this John Cena Cody Rhodes match on Sunday, and I think now it's just it's that much more exciting in my eyes. So looking forward to that one. We then get Zelina Vega going up against Julia for that Women's U.S. Championship. Zelina Vega getting the rematch after seemingly a while for whatever reason. Getting another rematch here, and this was a pretty hard-hitting contest. Zelina took quite a bit of offense and did show some endurance, but Julia had enough to take her out with the Northern Lights bomb and retain that U.S. title. I think I've already said this many times, but I think this should have been on SummerSlam. But if that was the kind of match we were going to get, I certainly see the case as to why this is on SmackDown and not SummerSlam. But you could also argue the point that if this was on SummerSlam, it probably would have had more time. So stuck between a rock and a hard place. At least the U.S. champions being featured, and I'll just leave it at that. We then get another interesting segment that features Los Garza, the current AAA Tag Team Champions, and they issue an open challenge, and it's answered by Psycho Clown and Mr. Iguana of AAA, and I thought this might be the case. I just felt like this was been an opportunity to get Mr. Iguana on TV. I know he was very well received at the Worlds Collide PLE, and I kind of thought this might be who it was, and then it did turn out to be the case. But this was fun to see these guys on weekly TV anyways. Unfortunately, it didn't feel like this one had enough time, which, seems to be a reoccurring theme with SmackDown. But regardless, it was fun to see something new, and Los Garzas retain here, I think, is probably the right call to retain those AAA World titles. Unfortunately, Mr. Iguana did have a bit of a slip up on the ropes there, but hopeful that he gets some more time going forward because he was a lot of fun at that Worlds Collide event. We then get Aleister Black versus Damian Priest. Unfortunately, I feel like a broken record, but this is another match that just didn't feel like it got enough time. Damian Priest basically bombards Black over the announce table as seen there, and shortly after that, the match gets called because Black throws a chair in Damian Priest's face. He then took Priest out and delivers a black mass for his troubles after the match is called. Priest looked like he was in pretty rough shape. So I'm thinking maybe Priest might need some time for recovery, but we'll have to wait and see. We've seen people come back much quicker from much worse, obviously. But I think this did a good job of what it was meant to do, and that was further cement Aleister Black as a heel to be a force to be reckoned with, if you will. So yeah, wish the match would have gone longer, and I could say that about all three matches listed on this first half of SmackDown. But nonetheless, this was a good enough match for what it was. We then get a Tala Tonga match versus Jimmy Uso, which clearly wasn't about the match at all. Tala Tonga dishes out most of the offense throughout this. A few bursts here and there from Big Gem, but for the most part, this was dominating the established wrestler in Tala Tonga, and he finishes the match with the choke slam. Of course, this isn't what people were walking away with in terms of I think what they wanted us to walk away with, and that is after the match, of course, Solo throws the rest of MFT at Jimmy, and then once all members are in there dishing out punishment and the steel cage that was up at the top begins to lower, we then see, of course, Jacob Fatu come in and kind of help aid Jimmy just before that cage lowers, and I think the timing wasn't quite right. I think it did stick somewhere. Wasn't right, I think, in terms of timing, but regardless, the ending image is the same. Just in the nick of time, Fatu comes in, and Tala and Solo are able to get out of the cage. And my never-ending distaste for the cage door, and then JC and Tama Tonga are left in the ring with Fatu, and they get all the punishment. So yeah, Fatu standing strong here for this one. Take that curse for whatever you will. We'll see how that pans out at SummerSlam this weekend. We then end the show with a Logan Paul and Drew promo, largely heard mostly from Logan, who says he doesn't like outsiders, and this is WWE, not a stepping stone for established names. Logan Paul himself obviously was the exception. We then see Jelly Roll and Randy Orton come down to the ring for yet another preview of this match. They're really hitting this one hard, and this, of course, doesn't go well. Loads of security guards come down to break it all up until Randy gives a couple of RKOs to the security guard. Further troubles out of frustration as Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre are able to flee the scene. And then on top of all that, Jelly Roll does end up hitting a choke slam on one of the security guards, which, not super face behavior, but I guess, tempers kind of flared there. But back to the point I made at the beginning of the show, I think I can't quite understand why, if you have these two promos, this one compared to the John Cena, Cody Rhodes, John Cena turning face seemingly, why you wouldn't want that as your lasting event. The only kind of reason I could come up with was maybe they wanted a trending show for the evening, but I think that's typically the case anyways. Obviously, probably more so with John Cena and the announcement that he made, but still, I can't quite grasp why that wasn't the main event and this was instead. But regardless, it is what it is. Go home show, doing go home things. Nothing groundbreaking here by any means for SmackDown. And, in my opinion, this was the definition of a bang average go home show. The Julia Zelina match was good. And then, of course, the John Cena turn was great. But the rest just felt like a giant pre-show in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, this, unfortunately, I think was another step back for SmackDown as a shorter show, and the saga that continues, shorter shows having issues with pacing. It definitely felt like that was the case here. I think we'll give it a bit of an excuse, just because this was a go-home show. But even still, more often than not so far, I think this is the third or fourth episode since that change. And with one exception, it's the same story, every week. So I'll give this one a 6 out of 10. It does feel a bit generous. But regardless, it is what it is. Clearly, SummerSlam's our main focus, so we'll move swiftly ahead to that. SummerSlam Night 1 tonight and Night 2 tomorrow, and then Raw the next day. And we'll, of course, be back for those reactions and recap in due time. But with that, this has been another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. And until next time, we'll see you then. Take care.